So we're gonna get it started. We're gonna get it started. Appreciate y'all for stopping by. All right, this is the Life of a Champ podcast, episode number 32. Topic for today is what do you value? So everybody's gonna have certain things that they value, that is going to be different than other people, right? But I want to get your guys' opinion on what do you guys specifically value, right? For the most part, everybody's answer should relatively be the same, but at the same time, we're going to have our each individual differences because of our life experiences. So I'm gonna go ahead and go over the ones that I personally value. I wrote about like 15 to 20 things that I value, and from there, like I said, I wanna see if we have any commonalities. If we do, then go ahead and let me know which ones you really agree with, and if you have something that's completely different than what I'm talking about, also let me know on that. And then also as a disclaimer, of course, there's going to be things that I'm not going to mention because I'm thankful enough to actually have those things, because that's just afforded to me. So I'm not gonna think like of course I value having a home, living in this country and things like that. But like it's not really worth mentioning. We're talking about more other things that are not, I don't know, luxuries, I guess, if you will. All right. So first thing. So what do I value, right? So for me personally, the first thing that's on my list is going to be family. Family is the very very top of my list, and the reason for that is pretty obvious, right? It's just my support system. I really I love every single person within my support system, and obviously that includes my family as well as my friends. So the first two things that I value are going to be those people, because at the end of the day, whether I do something or whether I don't do something, they're gonna have my support, or they're gonna have my support, and I'm gonna get their support as well. So I'm thankful for that. And like I said, family always comes first. So they're the number one thing. And like I said, friends. If you're a friend of mine and I actually hang out with you, I would honestly consider you family, because I do not spend my time. Um, I don't spend my time with many people, and if I choose to spend it with you, just know that actually means something, and is not just. I don't go ahead and have like 100 friends. That's not what it is. It's never been the vibe. Um, give me a second. Hold up. What the heck? Give me a second. Hold up. I got. Hold up. What the hell? Give me a second. Hold up. I got a thing video blocked apparently. Give me a second. Hold up. This is weird. This is weird. Owned by somebody else. That's cap. Unless it's talking about my man, whatever, man. It's fine. All right. So going back to what I was saying, right? Things that I value. The third thing that I put on my list is going to be freedom, right? So this kind of goes without saying, but obviously we live in a free country, right? But at the same time, there's certain freedoms that I value. So I really value location freedom and time freedom, as well as financial freedom. Those are things that I value. Those are things that I'm striving for, and those are things that I'm going to have in my life when it's all said and done, right? So these are not your typical freedoms like freedom of speech and stuff like that. Even then, freedom of speech is limited to an extent. It's really not free. I would say the freedom of society right now is just an illusion. It's just a marketing scheme. It's sounds ideal. It's like an element of what is that? What is that? It has an element of what is it called? Not a utopia, but a dystopian. I feel like it's a dystopian value. Um, and is not really. It's not. Like I said, it sounds better on paper than it does in actual like real life application. But yeah, freedom is definitely one of those things that I for sure value. And you see a lot of people that think they're free when in reality they're really not free. And it is just that sad, sadly, right? You're not free. Some people are free. Some people are not free. Most people are not free. They're restricted to a job. They're obligated to do certain things, so they're not realistically free, right? And that's why I value it so much. And like I said, that's why I'm also striving for that in my life. Give me 1 second. That's weird. What story got taken down? I don't know what story got taken down. That's fine. All right, the next thing on my list is going to be respect. This is the next thing that I value. Like I said, it's definitely a top five value of mine. If you cannot have respect for another person, there's no point of even having the interaction at all. And like I said, it is just one of those core fundamental foundations when it comes to just having a interaction in general. So respect is definitely a huge thing for me. And the second I see the slightest disrespect, I'm instantly turned off and looking to go away from that because if you're not respecting me or you're not respecting somebody that I care about, you get removed from the situation or we leave. Because it is just that simple. We respect ourselves too much to have that disrespect. So, like I said, if you start disrespecting, you get removed instantly. So that is definitely one of my values and something that, as a man, you really, at least, yeah, like I said, of course, a woman, has this as well. But as a man, respect is definitely a one of the few pillars that is super paramount. But yeah, respect. Next thing that I value is going to be articulated speech. So when I say articulated speech, I mean like just being able to put together um, cohesive sentences and stories and things like that. Along with that, you have things like music that also plays an element into it, as well as just communication in general. That is something that I value very much. Sufficient communication is definitely very key into an interaction as well. Um, Being able to express yourself in a way where you feel you're getting your point across is definitely a beautiful thing in my eyes. And whether it's doing it through a podcast or maybe writing a book or doing it however you would like, as long as it's articulated and expressing yourself, I feel like that's a beautiful thing in itself. So that is something that I for sure value because I have things like music. If you can't tell, the background has a bunch of my favorite artists and their albums that they've put out. So that is a form of articulated speech, which is why it's so interesting to people. But yeah, it's definitely a value of mine, and like I said, is paramount for sure. What do I value? I value the development of the self. At the end of the day, um, you're going to have you're going to have yourself at the end of the day. Um, that's the only person you can really count on in this life. Um, but with that being said, the development of the self is so key because it develops all parts of your life, financially, spiritually, mentally, physically, financially, whatever it is, all of it. I value that very very much, and it's literally my life purpose to just fulfill the development of myself in all those areas. So that is something that I definitely value, and I value that in other people who also strive to have that same endeavor of trying to just get better and do the best that they can in this life. I really, really respect that, and like I said, I value that in other people as well. The next thing on my list is going to be purpose and meaning. I feel like I can kind of bunch these two together. So not only do I respect or value my own purpose and meaning within this world, I also value and respect the the purpose and meaning in other people's lives as well. A lot of those, depending on what person it is, I guess, can inspire me. Which is, like I said, inspiring is it's right there for it's right here and right here. Inspire. It's definitely a huge thing that can change not only an individual person, but it also can change thousands of people from that one person that got inspired. So it's a big ripple effect that I really respect. So that is something that I for sure value. Like I said, with purpose and meaning, my own purpose and my own meaning, um, mine is to inspire as well. Just bring the best version out of everybody around me, make everybody better, the best way that I can, or at least steer them in the right direction. That is my ultimate purpose and my meaning in this world. And it is definitely beautiful when I see other people pursuing their meaning or what they deem to have meaning, as well as pursuing their purpose, because it is it's the point of life in my opinion. So that is why I value it very very much, and one of the things worth mentioning. The next thing that I value is going to be time to think. Over these last few months, I've had the most time to think that I ever have, and it has definitely helped me process issues and figure out certain problems a lot quicker than I would if I was distracted or if I was just getting consumed by something else. So I really, really value that, and that is one of the most undermined things within this entire list. I think that people don't value enough because they probably don't get it enough is just time to think and really analyze and problem solve accordingly. Um, most people are just a victim of life, and they really don't have the opportunity like this, like I said, to really sit down, think things thoroughly through, and just being able to have that time to do that is such a beautiful thing, honestly. So it is definitely one of my things that I value, and man, like I said, I've had these last few months to really self reflect and really do the work that needs to be done, and it's definitely paid off. And I've definitely made I've made some pretty big strides in terms of my thinking and making like coming to my own opinions and stuff like that over this period of time, which, like I said, has definitely been very, very key and very much ingrained within my self development journey. So um, that is just it's a beautiful thing in itself. The next thing that I value, which I could have put this higher on the list. I don't. It's not really numbered the list, but this is something that I could have talked about before. Is going to be my time, and not only with my time is as well as with my energy. Right. No one likes wasted energy, and no one likes wasted time. And I can definitely see how people value that less because they really don't take advantage of their time. But me personally, if you know me in person, I'm not a person who likes to get their time wasted whatsoever. I'm a person who's very, very time conscious. But yeah, I would say, and as of recently, I became a lot more conscious of my energy as well and what exactly I'm focused on and how I'm spending my energy. It's definitely been a very, very big focus for me as of recently. And with that being said, being very, very choosy with what I decide to spend my energy on is just the move. It's just the move to do. Honestly, it's something that everyone should be a lot more choosy with how they spend their energy because at the end of the day, you're going to have a limited amount of energy in any given day, and if you're not spending that and focusing on the right things, then you're going to get off track and you're not going to live the life that you want to live. So with that being said, you need to be very, very energy conscious as well as time conscious because like I said, either of those things that are wasted is a loss, is a very, very big loss, and you do not want to lose in this life. You well, obviously, losses are lessons at the end of the day, but at the end of the day, you want to minimize the amount of losses that aren't lessons that are avoidable. So, yeah, like I said, time and energy, definitely very, very key. And another thing that I value is going to be great conversations. Great conversations is something that, of course, I value, and something that I mentioned on previous podcasts is the reason why I started this podcast in the beginning. Is because, like I said, I just love to have great conversations. Not only do great conversations help you get to know somebody better, but it also helps you get to know yourself better as well. Your ideas become more formulated and distinct, and you can come up with things and you maybe even have opinions that you didn't even know you had just by expressing it and just having that conversation. So I think it's a real that's just a beautiful thing in my opinion, right? Great conversation is something that as of recently I've been able to, like I said, focus in on. And with that being said, I'm becoming a better conversationalist just by doing things like a podcast or, like I said, just having time to think. It allows me to, like I said, conjure up the thoughts that need to be had, and therefore make the opinions that I need to have, pretty much. And like I said, great conversation, man. It's honestly one of the most undermined things that I would say in society right now. If you see the people that thrive the best, they usually have the best conversations. Yeah, whether it's with they're able to have conversations with the people that can have high level conversations, or they're just able to communicate better because they just been working on that skill. Which communication and yeah, communication honestly is a skill that you can develop, and not only is it a skill you can develop, but it's also one of those people skills that can really get you a long way. Even if you know the right people, if you're able to make the right conversations and ask the right questions in life, you typically get you typically get the furthest out of pretty much everybody around you. So that is definitely something that I value for sure. Another thing that I value is my goals. Right at the end of the day, um, what's going to bring me my most fulfillment in my life is going to be pursuing my goals because they're not just things. They're a way of life essentially. Hold on, give me a second. They're a way of life, and it pretty much the value in having goals. If you don't have any goals, you need to make some. By the way, the value of having goals is like I said, I mentioned earlier, it's paramount because it gives you something to really strive for, right? And not only does it give you something to strive for, if you if you have a big goal, and I like to use this example because it also needs to be mentioned when you have goals. You also have to you have to blah, blah. You also have to have systems that are going to be in place to go ahead and achieve that goal. My favorite example. Give me one second. I'll give you that example right now. All right. By far, my favorite example of the goals and systems is going to be the one that's in the gym. Let's just say you have a goal, right? And it's going to be like, let's just say you have to lose like 30 pounds, right? The goal is 30 pounds. It is the large mountain that you're trying to go ahead and hike. And the system in place is saying that you're going to eat better. And not only eat better, you're going to work out 5 days a week. That is a system. That is the daily or weekly application. And the goal will be eventually achieved if the system is in place and is solid. So the more solid you can create okay, the more solid you can have in your system foundation, the better and more likely you are to achieve that goal. So with that being said, it is something that has to be at the top of your value hierarchy and things that you value. Um, if you're a person that is trying to achieve anything in this life, it definitely needs to be something you do. And one of the things that I have done recently, which has been pretty good, I've been mentoring my little brother, and shout out to Andrew. I've been mentoring my little brother, and that is one of the things that I wish I did at his age is make goals, and I've been able to help him formulate some of his goals and just let him become more goal conscious, and like I said, let him make his own goals. And when he does that, he's going to look back and say, "Wow, look at what I accomplished. Look at what I set out to do, and I did it." And I feel like that's very very that's very essential when it comes to developing yourself. Is just having goals and knowing you can go ahead and do something if you really put your mind to it. So that is definitely a valuable skill that I want to go ahead and teach him, and he's on the right track right now, pursuing his goals. So that is definitely something that I recommend anybody to do is to make goals. If you don't have any, definitely make some goals. All right, the next thing on my list is going to be being my truest self. So being my most being my truest and most authentic self is definitely something that I've always valued, not only for myself, but also within other people. If I can tell that they are genuine, if I can tell that they are who they say they are, there's a trust factor that's built within that. And with me, I feel like as of recently, for the most part, I would say I'm a pretty authentic person. But as of recently, I've been really focusing in on being the most authentic version of myself that I possibly can be. Being a man of my word, and doing things that don't really have any self conflict. Because I feel like a lot of people they don't really like do things that are always in their best interest when it comes to their own subconscious mind, and that can be really hindering because eventually it's going to tell you your mind's going to tell you like, hey, you're not on the right path. You know you shouldn't be doing these things. Why are you doing these things? And if you continue to do them, you're not living your most truest and authentic self, and that is honestly self sabotaging if you're not in line with what you know you should be doing. And maybe that's just me, but I also see that in other people as well, where um, like I said, I hold myself to a high standard, but I've also seen people where they're like, man, like I really need to get back on track, like, and it's because they know subconsciously that they know that they're not on the right track, and um, it's gonna take a mental toll on them. And if you want to avoid mental tolls, I would say live your most truest self, whatever that looks like. Do not steer away from your values. Stick to your word as much as you possibly can, because at the end of the day, that's all that most people have nowadays, right? Is your word. And that is something that like I said, I value within myself, but I also value within other people. If you can be a man or a woman of your word, you're going to have my respect. If I see the effort being made, and of course, things happen, and there's going to be less than ideal situations that come up in life that you're not always going to be able to keep your word, but in the most idealistic sense, you should be striving for keeping your words. And like I said, it's going to result in respect and better interactions in general. If you can say exactly what you mean, and like I said, just live your truest self, because That is something that is, I would say, undermined. You see a lot of fake people nowadays, and the people that keep it real, the people that keep it real, and the people that are genuinely, authentically themselves is beautiful. You see the best content creators are going to be the people that are going to be the most genuine, the ones you can tell are not putting on a facade. Those are going to be the most highly sought after people when it comes to content to consume, and that is what I see myself leaning towards is just being them. Even if I don't 100% agree with all what they're saying, as long as they're being them and they're not trying to be like somebody else, that is that is that is a beautiful thing in itself, right? The next thing that I value on my list is going to be loyalty. So I feel like this is one of those things that go without saying, but I wanted to mention it because it is something that I personally value very, very much. Anyone that can show me loyalty, you will also see loyalty within myself. And I would say I'm one of the most loyal people that I've ever observed. And of course, I can't observe that many people, but I've also observed people within each other's lives and stuff like that. But I also have a few people in my life that are living examples of that, where they are the most loyal people that I've ever met. And not only are they loyal, but I can also reciprocate that loyalty because I know it is a solid foundation. And that is something that's, like I said, that should be sought after. That is a top probably five quality that I'm looking for when it comes to any type of person that I want to bring in my life. Just somebody who's going to be you can rely on, and I feel like that kind of goes with loyalty. Um, but yeah, just staying true to that interaction and keeping it 100. That loyalty right there is, like I said, is priceless. Very, 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 very priceless. Loyalty is. The next thing on my list is going to be honesty. I feel like it kind of goes along with loyalty, and like I said, another one of those things that kind of go without being said. But honesty is something that I also see. That's lacking within society. I feel like people try to sugarcoat things or not tell the full truth. And I feel like I've always respected myself specifically because that is something that I value, right? If you want to know my opinion on something, I'm gonna give you my opinion straight up, right? Now, whether you like that reaction, that's on you, right? But at least you should know that I'm being my truest self because I'm giving you what maybe you don't even want to hear, right? But at the end of the day, I'm not gonna lie to you because you should never have a foundation of anything you're trying to build built on anything less than honesty, anything less than loyalty. It's a part of the foundation, like I'd mentioned. And if there's cracks in the foundation, then what kind of foundation is it? That's a very poor one, and you don't want to have poor foundations within your interactions in life. So honesty is definitely one of the, I would say, probably top 10 for sure, top 10 things that is a must need in any interaction. The next thing on my list is going to be taking responsibility, right? So with taking responsibility, that is something that I for sure value because it's it is being accountable in its own way, right? Taking responsibility to say, hey, you know, I did something wrong, or you know what, I did that, and that is something that is you see there's people in society that kind of avoid that accountability, whether it's self accountability or whether it's accountability to somebody else. You don't see people that are taking responsibility in the ways that they need to. And when I see somebody else taking responsibility in the ways that they need to, in the ways that they know that they should, that is definitely something that I really respect. And that right there, it's top. It's top as well. Responsibility, like I said, I value and respect when I do it myself. And like I said, I try to do my best whenever I can do it right. Um, but with that being said, I really value that within other people because if you are able to do what you know you should be doing as a person, you're going to have my respect for sure. The next thing I value on my list is being a man or a woman of my word or of your word, whatever. But this is something that I kind of mentioned a little bit earlier with communication and stuff like that. But it's something that I specifically want to hone in on because, like I mentioned, if you are a woman or a man of your word, you're going to have my respect for sure. Appreciate you stopping by. Make sure you leave a comment. So like I was mentioning, this is something that I value. Being a man or a woman of your word. Um, if you're not a man or a woman of your word, you're going to have a lacking foundation that is needed within um, an interaction. So people are not going to be able to trust you. People are not going to be able to rely on you. And if you don't say what you mean and really, really hold that to a high standard, it's gonna be really, really hindering to, like I said, you trying to make a quality interaction. Like I said, appreciate y'all for stopping by. See, I got a few people in here. Make sure you leave a comment. But yeah, I'm basically just going through my values right now and just going over the things that I value and specifically why that I value them. And I know everybody's gonna have something slightly different on their list. So if you're in here right now, like I said, I appreciate you for stopping by. Make sure you leave a comment regarding things that you specifically value that maybe somebody else wouldn't have on their list. I'm gonna go over my list real quick. Um, I went through most of it, but I'm gonna go ahead and go through it a little bit. So the first thing I value is going to be family and friends. Those are going to be your biggest support system. So for me, I'm thankful enough to have a solid foundation of friends and family. So that is at the top of my value hierarchy, and those are the things that need to be mentioned first and foremost. The next thing I have on my list is going to be freedom. Freedom is such a big thing for me because not a lot of people have it, and we have an illusion in society that we have freedom when in reality we don't. So yeah, we're free to an extent, right? It's free, right? But there's certain people in this world that actually have real freedom, time freedom, location freedom, financial freedom. Those are the type of freedoms that I value, and those are the type of freedoms that I'm going to be pursuing my entire life until I get them. Um, definitely a top thing that I value. The next thing I had on my list, which is going to be respect. That kind of goes without saying. It's a fundamental foundation of what creates an interaction. Respect. If you don't have respect in the interaction, there's just no point of having it. And um, some people struggle with this, sadly. But for the most part, I try to be as respectful as I possibly can be. If there is respect given, then I will also give out that respect accordingly. But if there's disrespect given, then I'm just going to remove myself from the situation, just as anyone should. The next thing I value on my list is going to be articulated speech, music, and communication. So those kind of go all hand in hand. Articulated speech is just being able to put a cohesive piece of body of work when it comes to speech or when it comes to music. Music is pretty much that in itself is articulated speech. That's why I enjoy music so much, as you can see it in the background, like I had mentioned earlier. Um, that is something of my value and is something that I'm constantly trying to get better at when it comes to speaking and things of that sort. Communication, also one of those things that um, kind of goes hand in hand with that. If you're an effective communicator, you're going to make so much more bigger strides in this world than majority of people, just based off of your ability to communicate. It's one of those interpersonal skills that is, man, very much needed, and you can really just put yourself in a better position in life just by having the right communication and right conversation with somebody. And it's definitely key. Appreciate you guys for stopping by. Make sure you leave a comment. All right, give me 1 second. All right. The next thing I have on my value list, and like I said, if you're in here right now, make sure you leave a comment regarding what specifically you value. I'm just going down the list of the things that I had thought about for what I value. And like I mentioned, for the most part, some of these relatively should be the same on your list. But I want you to specifically write or tell me things in particular that you might not think is on another person's list. That one for me, which I'll kind of go a skip ahead, which is going to be where was it at? Time to think. That is something that I value very much. Time to effectively think things through, as well as evaluate the problems and solve them in a way that is going to take a lot of thinking. Over these last few months, I've had a lot of time on my hands, thankfully. And with that being said, I have processed issues and have done the internal work that would take months and months and months and probably even years to do. But thankfully, I've had enough time to have that thorough self communication, self talk with myself to get over these things that, like I said, might take years to get over. I've made tremendous strides within the last 3 months. Of course, there's always room for improvement, but it's definitely something I value because, like I said, if you don't have enough time to really think things through, then you're going to be lacking, and that's definitely not a great thing in this life. You need to be able to have that time where you can go ahead and sit down, unwind, and really take things in as they are, and not just get distracted and caught up with things in life. Because the only way you get the farthest in this life is if you have that time to think. And if you're just so distracted all the time, then you're going to be missing out. You're going to be missing out. That's for sure. The next thing on my list is going to be the development of the self. This is something that, of course, I value. This is part of the reason why I have this podcast and I have my other YouTube channel called Evolve to Inspire, is because it is part of my development of myself. And I'm basically documenting this journey, and everybody watching this right now is seeing the journey take place in itself, right? This is something, of course, that I value and something that I work on every single day, just as I believe everyone should be working on it to an extent. If you're not working on at least one of the five essential pillars of self development, then you are doing something wrong. So, this is financially, physically, mentally, spiritually, or in your relationships as well. These are all things you should be focusing in on in life, and it'll push you the farthest if you do focus on these things. That's why it's one of the top things that I value. The next thing that I value is going to be purpose and meaning, which is two of the things that I'll go ahead and combine together. So, for the purpose and meaning, these are the things that I value very much. Not only do I value these things for myself, but I also value them in other people. So, being able to express your purpose or meaning, or being able to find meaning in things, is definitely something that is of value for sure. So, not only can you take inspiration from people's purpose and the meaning that they have in their life, you can take that, get inspired by that, and it can help you become a better person. So that is definitely something that I value and something that I'm always focused on. That's for sure. Is finding my purpose and finding what it brings me meaning in this world, because at the end of the day, I feel like that's part of what is this journey that we need to go on, and um, that is why I value it very much. The next thing on my list is going to be time and energy. So as of recently, I've been a lot more energy conscious when it comes to how I'm spending my energy and what I'm focusing on, because what you focus on in turn leads to where your energy goes. So I feel like a lot of people are wasting their energy and focusing on the wrong things. And with that being said, then they're lacking in certain areas in their life. Of course, no one's perfect, but at the end of the day, you don't want to be directing your energy towards something that's lacking, or that's it's never going to be able to really fulfill you. So energy and time, I don't like either of those to be wasted, especially time, because at the end of the day, you can never get time back. So that is definitely something that I value. And for the most part, that kind of goes without saying. For the most part, that should be on everybody's list, time and energy to an extent. But that is definitely on my list, and definitely probably within the top 10 of things that I value just in general. So the next thing on my list is going to be great conversation, which is something I kind of referred to a little bit earlier. But just being able to have great conversation is a wonderful thing. This is the reason why I have this podcast in the first place, is because the ability to have great conversations and be able to not only have the great conversations for yourself, but to have the great conversations and really give that to another person through podcast or through YouTube, whatever it is, social media. That is something that, of course, I value, because that pushes society forward if you're actually spitting the right things. Um, it pushes society forward, and people that actually take the things that you have to say and apply them, depending on what you say, of course. Checking in, appreciate you for stopping by, GDP. Will dictate whether you make progress or whether you don't make progress. So the next thing that I value on my list is going to be my goals. Just as everybody should be focused on their goals, this is something that everyone should value enough to at least have them. And if you don't have them, you need to for sure make them, because it's giving you a target. And the thing that I mentioned earlier with goals is going to be systems as well, right? At the end of the day, everybody has their own goals, but do you have the system in place that's going to lead you to that goal? For example, I like to use this example. It is going to be the example of the gym. Let's just say you want to go ahead and lose 30 pounds, whatever it is. That is going to be the goal. That is going to be the mountain you have to climb, right? But the first few steps you need to take is going to be the system in place. The system in place is going to be maybe getting your diet right, or eliminating things out of your diet. And another part of the system is also going to be working out a certain amount of days. So with that being said, if you have the right system in place, let's just say you're working out 5 days a week, having a better diet, eventually you're going to get to your goal. So that is, so anyone can just have goals, but at the end of the day, do you have the right systems in place to go ahead and get that done? And that is definitely something that I value very, very much. And with that being said, which is why I value goals very, very much. And like I said, systems as well. The next thing on my list is going to be being my truest and most authentic self. Um, the reason why I the reason why I value this is because it makes up what a person's identity is at the end of the day, right? And being your truest and most authentic self is something that people can see. People can sense this if you're being genuine, and people can sense if you're being fake. And if you're being fake, then you're not going to have as much respect. You're not going to have as people are not going to have as much trust in you. So as long as you're being your most truest, authentic self at all times, or at least as much as you possibly can, you're going to be better, and you're not going to burden yourself with the self-talk that's going to be like, "Hey, man, you know you should be doing this, but you're not doing this." If you can get rid of that little voice in your head that's telling you you're not living what you need to be living, you're going to be so much more stress free, and you're going to be in a better place mentally. And that is the reason why I value that very, very much. Um, and if you see people in your life that lack this, the best you can do is try to help them. But at the end of the day, not everyone's going to be responsive to that. But just being your most truest and authentic self is something that I value. Not only do I value it within myself, but I value it within the people around me. The next thing on my list is going to be, where's it at? Loyalty and honesty. So These are things like I had mentioned earlier in the podcast that are going to be the foundation in which your interaction lies on. So if you're lacking loyalty, then it can't be reciprocated. If you're lacking honesty, then of course, reasonably so, it cannot be reciprocated. With that being said, those things are paramount. Paramount when it comes to building a solid foundation. And loyalty. Anyone that knows me knows that I'm probably one of the most loyal people you've ever met. Shout out to Anthony. He's a perfect example of this. He's somebody that's been loyal since day one. I've known him for 11, 12 years now. And if he showed me that loyalty, then of course I have to show him that loyalty back. Like I said, anyone close to me will tell you I'm a loyal person. And like I said, if you keep it 100 with me, I'm going to keep it 100 with you always. That's just how it is for me. The next thing that I value on my list is going ahead and taking responsibility. At the end of the day, not only do I value that within myself, but I value that within observing other people's behaviors as well. If you're able to take responsibility and take care of business, knowing what you need to do, then of course you're going to have my respect, and you're not only going to have the respect of mine, but you're going to have the respect of everyone else around you, because they know that you're acting in accordance to your truest self with taking that responsibility. The next thing on my list is going to be, which is going to tie back into some of the other things that I had mentioned, which is going to just be a man of your word or a woman of your word. This kind of goes back to the communication. This kind of goes back to the loyalty, honesty, and taking responsibility. But if you are a man of your word and you do what you say you're going to do, people are going to have a certain amount of respect for you that is priceless. Honestly, same with the loyalty, same with the honesty. Those things right there are priceless. People wish they had that more in their life, and even people with money don't even have that. So it's not exactly something money can buy. It's the only reason you get those things is by being your truest self. Like I said, that is the karma that comes with it, right? As long as you are handling the business the way you need, the way you know you need to handle it, then at the end of the day, you're going to eventually receive that back. And give me 1 second. Yeah, if you couldn't tell, my favorite color is orange, right? Come on, I appreciate it. All right. The next thing on my list, which I'm getting to the end of my list, is going to be consistency and persistence. So the reason I value consistency is because when somebody shows you consistency, there's the effort that's being shown, right? If you're able to consistently show up on a consistent basis, whether it's with this podcast, whether it's within life, right? You're going to make more progress just by being consistent, even if you don't feel like you're doing the best. As long as you're consistent, that is a win in itself, right? And another thing that goes along with that is persistence, right? Persistently trying to chase what you need to chase in this life, and persistently trying to attract what is meant for you. And just to add to that, the persistence and consistency is also something that I value within people. If I see you're being consistent, if I see you're being persistent with what you're trying to accomplish, you're going to have my respect, and you're going to have my support, because I know that you are a man of your word, and you're persistent with what you're trying to do. And those things, like I said, are priceless. Those are things that are also priceless in quality of a person. That is not something you cannot pay somebody to be that. They either are that or they're not that. It's as simple as that. And then the next thing that I value and the last thing that I had written down is the utmost support in what I do. So if you're in there right now, appreciate you for stopping by. I obviously see we don't have that many people, but if you're in here right now, I respect you just off the support alone. That is something that I value, and if you support me, then I will support you. It's as simple as that. That is that mutually beneficial relationship that for sure needs to be had. And if you're giving your support to somebody and they're not giving you the support back, you got a problem there. You got a problem, right? That is something that of course that I value. Like I said, not only do I value that within me and how I support somebody, but I also the people that support me, along with how people support other people as well. Even if I don't 100% agree with you, as long as I see you're actually being a person of character, a person who's, like I said, loyal or supportive to somebody else, that is respectable. That is a respectable quality, and that is something for sure that I value. So with that being said, I see we have one person in here. So if you're in here right now, make sure you leave a comment if you have anything remotely close to the list that I have, or just anything that you value. Maybe I didn't mention it, but it's something worth mentioning. Make sure you go ahead and leave a comment on that. But yeah, obviously it's a whole lot of things that I had mentioned, but if you've seen the title, this is a remake. I've already done this podcast Wednesday. For whatever reason, it messed up. I tried to up the quality, and sadly, it messed up. But it's okay because I'm doing it now. I didn't get too mad, but it is what it is, and we move on with his life. Um, yeah, so I will be having another podcast probably. Oh, we'll probably do it Monday or Tuesday. Probably, probably Monday. I'm probably gonna do it Monday, just so I can catch up on the amount of episodes that I'm supposed to be doing. So that means I'll have 3 podcasts on for next week. That is something that I'm looking forward to, and I might have a podcast tomorrow. That's just gonna be a live stream. Also, shout out to the people that were in the live stream of yesterday listening to the Drake album with me. That was such a vibe. I had 8 people in here at one point. Um, Such a vibe. If you know, you know, and if you don't, then you don't. Simple as that. Those are going to be those temporary podcasts that are not going to be uploaded, or not uploaded. They're not going to be saved, right? Those are going to be those exclusive times that you get to see a different side of me, where I'm just kind of just chilling and relaxing. And if you appreciate the commentary, then you appreciate the commentary. But ultimately, I just try to do my best and try to spice things up with listening to music that is popular and something that I enjoy doing, which is one of my passions. So that is something that I'm going to be doing. If there's new music that's released and I like the songs or like the artist, I'm going to be listening to those live. And I might listen to Brent Fayez. I don't know how to say his last name, but I'm pretty sure I'm going to be listening to his music tomorrow, along with my favorite songs from the Drake album. If you, like I said, if you were in here, you got to see my genuine reaction for the first listen of the Drake album. A lot of people do not like that album. My opinion on the album, which I'll give it, I'm gonna go ahead and end it off with this. My opinion on his album is it's not what I expected, but I didn't want my expectations to completely ruin the project, because at the end of the day, if you're really letting your expectations get too high, then of course you're gonna let yourself down at that point. That person's not gonna let you down. You let yourself down because you allowed your expectations to get that high. So I gave the album a seven, 7.5. I would say solid 7. Solid 7 for sure. A lot of people were dragging it, but at the end of the day, he's still gonna make quality work, and he did just that. Of course, his work is always going to be quality. Like I said, it wasn't the best piece of work he's ever put out, but at the end of the day, that is that persistence, that is that consistency that we love and we value, right? And he did his work, and my biggest critique within his album is he's just he's talking about his ex too much, talking about exes, talking about women in ways that are not of the healthiest manner. Which is something that honestly was a turn off of mine, because I don't want to be reminiscing on my ex all the damn time. Like 80% of the album was reminiscing on an ex, or talking about an experience that he's missing out, or a woman that he's missing, whatever it is. But that's not something of my liking that I'm trying to listen to and have in my subconscious mind. There was a few songs that he had that were different than that, which was that I would say, man, it was like 80%. It felt like that was kind of like that. But I got a few songs out of the album that I liked, and like I said, I'll be playing them tomorrow on the live stream. And like I mentioned, I'm not always gonna do it every single Saturday, but there's certain Saturdays that I'm gonna do it. Tomorrow is going to be one of those days. I might do it earlier on though. It might be at like 5 o'clock. We'll see. We'll see what I have planned for the day. But I will let you guys know with that. Um, but yeah, that's pretty what I have to say for today. I'm gonna go ahead and leave you guys off on one piece of game that you can go ahead and take and apply for this upcoming week. Just give me 1 second. All right, I got it. I got it. So if there's one thing I want you to do, give me 1 second. All right, for this next upcoming week, I want you to do this intentionally. If you're watching this at a later date, like I said, appreciate you for stopping by. Make sure you leave a comment regarding something you value. But if there's one thing I want you to do for this next upcoming week, right? I want you to focus in on trying to give people compliments. When you feel the slightest inclination to give somebody a compliment, give them a compliment because I feel like that is something that needs to be more popularized within society. If you People want to be recognized. People want to be recognized. So give them the recognition that they deserve if you honestly believe that they deserve it, and give them the compliment. And this is something that maybe will make their entire day, and you would never even know. So that is my game for today. Make sure you give people compliments. Like I said, hey, make sure you give a mom a compliment. Make sure you give your dad a compliment. Make sure you give your friends a compliment. Make sure you give out some strangers compliments as well, because they deserve them compliments as well. So that is something that I'm gonna go ahead and leave you guys off on. I appreciate you guys for stopping by today. This was episode number 32 of the Life of a Champ podcast. What do you value? With this podcast, you got to know me a little bit more than you usually do, and sadly, the comments were not as strong as they typically are, but it's okay because, like I said, we are persistent, we are consistent with this, and we're gonna keep pushing. So, with that being said, I appreciate y'all for stopping by. Next podcast is going to be Monday, and the following podcast will be Wednesday. And I might switch this Friday day because I just haven't seen the viewers on this. So I'm probably gonna switch the Friday date. I don't know exactly what day I want to do it, but I'm gonna go ahead and figure it out. Other than that, I appreciate y'all for stopping by. Like I had mentioned earlier, if you're watching this, make sure you leave a comment just answering the question. Maybe you like something I said, maybe you didn't like something I said, maybe you have your own opinions. Make sure you go ahead and let me know. But other than that, like I had mentioned, I hope you guys have a good rest of your week, and make sure you give people compliments. Y'all have a good rest of your night.